Hello, my fellow commanders, and welcome to my Elite Dangerous VR Mega Guide. I've spent the last 6 months or so really digging into Elite in VR and trying to optimize every single aspect of this VR experience, both on foot and in the pilot seat, to get the smoothest running, best looking graphics, so that you can enjoy a stable and high FPS, generally between 90 and 120, even in the middle of epic battles or inside of busy stations, asteroid belts and the like, while enjoying the absolute best stunning visual experience that Elite Dangerous VR has to offer.
There you go.
I tried and tested pretty much every setting I could find, and in the end I found that, at least on my rig, we don't need a lot of tweaks, but we do really need some of them in order to make this game look its best and play its smoothest. Also,
Hello.
I've experimented with on-foot VR extensively. I know this feature is not natively supported by Frontier, but man, I absolutely love VR hikes and on-foot exploration in Elite Dangerous, and if you use my method for this, I am sure that you will absolutely come to love it as well. Now, my graphics card is an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5070, the 8GB version, so slightly earlier version of that card. I have an Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX processor at 270 GHz and 32 GB of DDR5 RAM. I use a 64-bit operating system, Windows 11, and I use VR on the Quest 2, so that's my setup. Now, over the course of this program, I'm going to be hopefully building up the performance and the way your game looks layer by layer, eliminating, problems and things that are kind of slurping away the processing power and internet power that you need to run Elite VR at its best, so that you can get the most out of the spectacle, the story, and the mystery. I think that Elite Dangerous is definitely one of the most unique VR titles out there, probably one of the best ever made, and if you're playing VR but you haven't played Elite Dangerous, well, you're really missing out on some very unique VR experiences. Now, first things first, Elite Dangerous is a pretty intense both CPU and GPU using game, and it also makes heavy use of your local internet connection. Because it's a peer-to-peer game, it's basically constantly telling all the people around you what you're doing, while it's finding out in a peer-to-peer way what the people and other players around you are doing. So it's constantly using your internet connection rather intensively on top of using your CPU and GPU. So we want to make sure that your system is not siphoning off any of your RAM power or any of your internet bandwidth, because this game can be incredibly immersive and you don't want anything to interfere with that experience.
Definitely attacked by some Thargoids by the look of it. The atmosphere with caustic damage everywhere. Do we have a hostile contact here? We're not ready for that at all.
And there are two kind of big things that we can do there to optimize. The first thing that is really helpful to do is go into your console and type serve or services, open the services, and find this thing, what is it called? Connected devices, user experience, and telemetry. Make sure, this is already disabled for me, but make sure to put stop, and then once it stops, go in here and find the startup type and make sure that instead of on automatic or automatic delayed start, it is set to disabled and then apply. What that does is basically Windows 11 has this nasty habit of checking on everything you do on your PC and sending reports to Microsoft on how you're actually using your computer. Now, that's nice for them, of course, to know how we use the computer so they can optimize things, but this actually siphons off quite a bit of your RAM power, up to like 5% or something I've heard people say, and this is always continuously running in the background, so turning this off is going to return you some much needed RAM power, which you're all going to use to power your VR experience in Elite Dangerous. So that's step number one to absolutely do. Okay, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. Okay, there's a platform here, let's go into A. Woohoo! Wow. Okay, let's see if we can just jump off here. Okay. Wow, what a spectacular place this is. Oh my. Now for the second major optimization, you want to go to your settings and then you want to go to Windows Update. You want to go to Advanced Options and then to Delivery Optimization. And on top of that, you're going to see an option that's called Allow Downloads from Other Devices. Make sure that this is turned off. Otherwise, Windows will, in a kind of peer-to-peer way, allow other users of Windows to download updates to their Windows programs from your device via your internet connection. And this is also always happening in the background, siphoning off some of your much needed bandwidth that you're going to need to be running Elite Dangerous optimally in VR. So make sure that that is also turned off. Very cool. Let's just, I'm just surfing the dust here. Whoa, look at this. Oh, there's a bunch. Oh, is that the stars or is it these kind of lightning things? Oh, no, there they are. Wow. Well, that is cool. Oh, look. Doing something. Definitely damaging me, like nothing. Okay, you Mr. Wiz. What is going on with you? Can I target you? Ooh, there's one here looking very interested. Well, now that we have the background energy slurpers under control, it's time to talk about virtual desktop. You absolutely must try virtual desktop, especially if you're on a more lower tier machine. The more trouble your PC is having with AD, basically, the higher I recommend you add this program. Now, why virtual desktop? Well, a few weeks back, I posted a video on Reddit of me visiting one of the Thargoid Titan sites and just kind of flying around through there and exploring it. And someone commented that they wish they could get VR to run this smooth on their machine. So I told them, try virtual desktop. And they commented back like the next day and they said, awesome, it runs great for me now. I did not imagine that adding an additional layer would somehow be an improvement. And that is exactly the reason why many players don't use virtual desktop. And I had the exact same feeling initially. But fortunately, I just tried everything and The worse your PC is, the more virtual desktop is going to smooth out your performance. And if you're on a higher end rig, it's going to unlock the absolute smoothest experience possible. Why on earth would an extra layer improve your performance? Well, basically virtual desktop is just better at managing GPU and CPU load than the Steam launcher or the Meta launcher natively. And it's true for many games, but for Elite in particular, Elite is a very GPU heavy game. One of the biggest problems for any rig with Elite is GPU bottlenecking. So when you enter an asteroid ring or a busy station or a busy battle zone, the load Elite just shoots all over your GPU can be so large that it just kinda overwhelms it. Did I just make a Yamix reference there? Anyways, VD provides a kind of release valve by giving us the ability to dynamically scale the detail in your VR headset. So when your system gets overwhelmed, VD can, for example, scale down the details in the background a bit in order to stabilize your performance. And as soon as the GPU bottleneck passes, it brings those details back again. Now you will mostly never notice this, but it greatly improves the FPS and the stability of your game overall, especially in GPU-heavy environments. Make no mistake about it, the smoother your game runs, the better it will look and the more empowered you will feel to do the kind of maneuvers and take the kind of risks that you want to be taking as a pilot in VR. Now later in the video, we're going to combine Virtual Desktop with a custom config graphics file to boost the number of stars in the sky, the number of nebula, and to actually increase the resolution of the textures beyond the level that Elite natively does. And the combination of all of that, having a greatly smooth running game, plus all the added sort of textures, stars and colors, is going to transform this game into absolutely one of the best VR titles out there still today. So when you open Virtual Desktop for the first time, in Accounts, set your Meta account, which you'll have to link. Then in Options, make sure to leave all this on automatic basically. Keep your adaptive quantization on, and especially, this is kind of where the magic happens, automatically adjust bitrate. So keep that on. Then in Advanced setting, basically keep all of these on 100%, which is the native settings, and also keep these on 25 and 70, which is the native settings as well. So that is actually pretty much it's a good place to start from as far as settings go on this level. Then while you have your PC running and connected to the internet or to your headset via the cable, open Virtual Desktop inside of your headset and you'll see this menu where you can set up some options for your screen. Basically match this with the FPS that you have set in your game or for your native screen, and basically use these options. It'll pretty much like auto fill in these, so you mostly don't have to do anything about it, but probably it will give you some different FPS here. So just pick the highest, what you think you can manage. But this is just for your screen. This is not your VR experience. So it depends a bit on, like me, if you're actually recording your screen or not. Then under streaming, you'll get a tab that looks something like this. Now make sure that you select your VR quality based on whatever card you have. So I have the 5070, so I have it on Ultra here. And make sure to match this to FPS again with the frame rate or hertz that you've set in game for your game. Then the VR bitrate. Now this should be automatically generated every time you start up Virtual Desktop, and it's going to be kind of dynamically changing. So when you open it up, it's going to give you a static number, but actually while you're playing your game, this will constantly adjust, and just make sure that it's set to whatever is the highest possible rating, and it will kind of automatically generate that. So I keep this actually disabled because it can create some kind of weird artifacts sometimes, which don't necessarily look that nice, and the rest is more controller info, things that are not really applicable. So you can pretty much keep all of this off, except for the video buffering, and track your controllers, because you might still need them, like me, to make adjustments sometimes in the settings. So, but that's pretty much this setup here. And then finally, from now on, you'll no longer launch your game from Steam or directly from the Elite launcher. You should do that actually from Virtual Desktop. So you go to the Games tab, and if you've done everything correctly, you should be seeing the games on there. Common mistake here is make sure that you have Steam VR app also installed on your headset, so not just on your PC. Then your games should show up here just fine, and you can start them directly from Virtual Desktop. Okay, so now we've optimized pretty much all of the background, and we get into the juicy stuff. Basically, one of the questions that I get the most often from other players is, hey man, how do you get your game to look like that? My game does not look like that. Like, I've been to the same locations, but somehow your game looks different. So what do you do? Well, the secret sauce is Reshade. This app is absolutely amazing. It's used in a lot of games to add kind of movie filters and things like that. But for Elite Dangerous, it's great because the game is natively very beautiful, but as far as color profile, a little bit flat. And so we need to do a little bit of tweaking as far as the vibrance, contrast, and just small optimizations like that to make everything pop just way, way better. Okay, let's find a good spot for it. Oh yeah, I think I see a good spot for it there. Nice sunset. Now, the reason that I'm including this whole going from orbit towards the surface here is you can see the whole kaleidoscope of how the color is changing and kind of what it does. I'll explain why it's important when we get down here. So here we are. I just landed, and as you can see, we have a very, very colorful place here, very colorful atmosphere. We have a beautiful Milky Way over here. We have the ship a little bit for reference. So I just switched to the on foot kind of embodied VR view. Very cool. This is my Cobra Mark III with all the bits and bobs on it. Love that thing. And so basically, Reshade is really making this place much more color intense than it natively would be. So if I load Reshade now, you should actually see it in the screen. Then if I go to basically the one effect that I use, which is the Prod 88-low-04 contrast, brightness, and saturation. Now if I turn it off, let's see what happens. Boom. Right? So you can see, still very beautiful, but a lot less intense, a lot more grays. If I turn it back on again, boom. As you can see, a lot more intense. And so if you take it on like one occasion, you might think like, okay, well, the native is like a little bit more balanced, but actually there's quite a bit of color intensity missing in this. And generally I went to a lot of like deserts, cold places, like just lots of different places in game that are, have a temperature basically, because that's really what it's all about. Temperature or color temperature really makes you feel the place that you're in, so just not seeing it, but you're feeling it. And when you're walking around here now in my regular reshaded setup, this place feels, it's a very hot planet, right? Extreme temperatures, and it feels like a hot desert because the color intensity is just telling your brain that it is. Whilst if I turn off that extra color intensity, which is kind of the thing, then boom. Now it looks kind of normal, right? It's just not as hot looking, let's say, and that's mainly because of the color temperature difference. So we're quite close to the star. It should be very hot in here. It looks beautiful, but it really misses that feeling of temperature. And the same goes if we were on a very cold world and we'd use the native color, it just doesn't really look that cold. While as if you increase, or if you use reshade the way I do, then actually you'll see that it's definitely going to change the feeling of the color that you use. So what exactly are the tweaks that you can make? Well, if you go into this particular effect, then you can take over my exact settings and basically have it look exactly the way that I do. So tint 0, exposure 0 difference, contrast 0.033, then brightness 0.000, which I think is also the standard, then saturation 0.208, and vibrance 0.236. Then color hue all the way down to 0, hue range selection 0.167, custom saturation level is regular, and then I have a little bit of red saturation because generally the game is a little bit overly blue and misses some red, which is why everything looks a bit colder than it should. So that is 0.212, and the yellow saturation is slight increase 0.113. Sometimes I also decrease the blue saturation a little bit, but because they've added some new blues and stuff to the galaxy, I've actually set that back to native, and that's pretty much the entire setup. So pretty easy tweak, and you can turn all of it off just by using the main switch, and then you can just hide that using the home key, and you're ready to go. And you basically, when you start up the game, these effects will be already in place. So once you have reset set up, you basically never really have to think about it or touch about it, and every single place you go, every minute of the game you play will automatically already be reshaded. And yeah, I think for me personally, just the way it looks like this with the more intense colors, you know, as you can very clearly see now, it looks like I'm on an actual, like, very hot, you know, deserty, like scorching type of place, whilst in the native color scheme it looks like a beautiful, interesting place, but you kind of really miss the temperature of the area, and that's kind of one of those really cool things that are nice to have in the game. So that's reshade. And here are a few more examples of kind of what that looks like. So you see like a colder desert with a blue atmosphere, guardian sites, of course, space, but also one place where all of that color temperature really comes together in an amazing way is, of course, doing the ultimate battle of the game, Thargoid Hydra Combat. So far I've taken maybe 15 new VR players into AX Combat for the first time, and every single time I show this to somebody in VR, they are just absolutely dumbstruck by the absolute crazy awesomeness of all the color, all the detail, just all the weapons and explosions everywhere. It is an absolute VR spectacle, and if you use all these tweaks, it's going to look absolutely epic. us to one of the coolest tweaks for VR, and it's going to make a massive difference, and that's the graphics control override. So you have to find your map. It's usually kind of your username and then app data, local, frontier developments, Elite Dangerous, options, and graphics. So it's a bit of a search, but in there you will find this file, the graphics configuration override XML. And so that's basically a base override file that overrides the graphics settings in your game from kind of outside the game. So even if you update the game or whatever, this file will stay the same. And you can do a few things in here that you cannot do inside of the game, people have found out. And so the first thing is you can increase the maximum amount of stars, which is generally set to 8,000, I think, maximum in the ultra setting. But if you put max stars here, you can increase that up to 128,000 stars, which is why you see such incredible numbers of stars in the skies in my videos. Then the texture size, so that is generally 1098, I think, but you can bump that up to 4096 MB. And so especially in VR, that means that all your textures are going to be much more detailed. So when you look at doors and stations and basically just surfaces inside of your ship also, you're going to find that once you activate this, all those little details are going to be much more pronounced and much more clearly visible in VR. Then for planets, you can do the same thing. So basically I have this whole file linked in the description below. So you can just copy this file and replace your own file with this file. You know, save your own file before, but you can just replace it with this and then it'll just automatically have these options. And then there's nebulous count. So nebulous count, I think, is normally set to 20 or 40 on Ultra. So you can increase that to 60 and 80s for nebulas in the background, making the overall details of kind of your immediate surrounding inside of the ship and also the entire background with the stars, nebula, and the distances, etc., way more detailed. And the difference, especially in the nebula, is incredibly noticeable. Now, you've probably noticed that we haven't even touched the regular settings in the game yet, so we will get there, don't worry. But before we do that, as a last point, let's go to the question that I'm asked the most, which is, Flo, how do you get in character? How do you actually get into the head of this guy so you can walk around in VR in kind of full embodied mode? Did you know that your character actually starts smiling when you look up at the stars? Try it out, it's true. No need to drop a heatsink. So if we find a nice place a little bit more on the day side here, oh, this looks nice. Then we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. Oh, we got a nice mountain ridge here. That'll probably give me a perfect view. Oh, a nice God does not paint in straight lines, but he does in here. So this is the same planet that you just saw earlier. I just went to the complete day side here. Oh, it looks very jagged up here. Pretty high, 7 kilometers. As you can see now, it's much less red, but it still feels very hot. Which is just a nice other example of the color temperature working very well. Now let's see if I can sneak a landing up high here somewhere. Oh, that looks like a nice nookie. Well, I'm gonna try it up here. This is probably not gonna work, but I'm just gonna go for it. Looks not too jagged to me in here. Come on, you can do this, little shippy. A bit further, come on. Yeah. Hey, haha. Oh, perfect. Yes! Okay. Shall we get into the old space suit? So here we go. Pretty nice up here. Yeah, so the thing is that I will show you when I do the graphic settings actually how to assign these keys. But basically what I do is you go to the external camera and that actually switches the game into VR. So now I'm already outside my character in VR. I switch to the back camera, then I dislodge the camera from the character. So now I actually have keybinds for, I'm in the free camera as it's called. And then I can take the free camera to go right above my guy here, right above his head. And then I lower the camera pretty much right on his forehead. I remove the keys and now I am actually ready to walk around in full-bodied VR here. And you can see as the sun is now much more higher in the sky, that also we have a much better, let me actually run over there. Should be a pretty spectacular view up here. We're like 7 kilometers high here. Same planet as before, you know, was very red in the sunset, but as you can see, that's not because there's too much red, but it's just because that's the color temperature in that oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, big mountain in the distance there. Absolutely stunning view. And of course, all my hand gestures here work, so you can kind of fully move your guy. And with the fact that we have a strong shadow here also, you just get this absolutely stunning sensation. We'll talk about the shadows also in a minute, by the way, because that's kind of important for this particular trick to work. Nice rock there. And yeah, that gives you that full kind of embodied feeling here, looking down at your legs, looking down at your body. So that is pretty much how you do full embodied VR in Elite Dangerous. And wow, what a place to do it. Let me just look over this cool looking rock. I'm betting that the view in here will be, oh yeah, very spectacular as well. Ho, 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 ho. Oh wow. Yeah, so I absolutely love this. Like whenever you go to some very like special planets, sunsets, beautiful atmospheres like this, there is just absolutely no game. I mean, yeah, maybe No Man's Sky, of course, but that's so unreal. Like it's beautiful, it's dreamy, it's like it calls to the imagination. But I find it really dangerous, especially with my color tweaks and everything set up like this in a perfect way, that the feeling of just embodiment in VR is just so incredibly powerful with this. And now because we have the higher texture also, you can see with the rocks and stuff that the detail is just incredible. And then yeah, you really get the full kind of sensation of height here as I'm walking around. So I literally feel like I'm probably almost as high as Mount Everest up here. I think it's like 6.5 kilometers or something like that in total, maybe even higher. So something like Mount Everest, looking at this just epic atmosphere in this mountain. I mean, it doesn't really get any cooler than that. And when I walk up, I have the full detail in my shadow here, which really, you know, helps to kind of get that sensation. And of course, when you know your keybinds, you can actually add some movement, and when you're, you know, hanging out with your friends or doing things together, that all just helps to, you know, really make it into a full experience. And just walking by your ship also, you know, customizing your ship, of course, is kind of cool, but if you don't play in VR, you don't really get to really see the scale of the ship and, you know, all the detail that kind of goes into it. And I got this really cool, I guess it's like the science ship kit for the Cobra Mark III, which gives me all these cool lights, which are actually amazing when you're like in asteroid belt or doing Thargoid areas or things like that, dark asteroid belts. Like, it actually provides a lot more light than regular. It's called Kite Surfer. And you can see also here that like the detail and the fact that we bumped up the textures. Of course, in VR you always get a bit more of a close-up look at the texture. So if textures are bad, it just stands out a lot more in VR. And yeah, with the textures set this way, everything just looks, I guess, the best that it can look. And yeah, it really works. Like, it just really feels very embodied, very real. Here's my little cockpit. You can see the window kind of like shine through. Yeah, it's just all in all really great. Woohoo! So that is how to embody yourself in VR in Elite Dangerous. And now let's get to the actual graphic settings and also the keybinds to do this with. Okay, so let's get into the options. So you go to options. Now let's start with the controls for a VR embodiment. So you go to general controls and you go to camera suite. So it's important that you set a toggle for your ship external camera and especially for your commander external camera, basically. So that's the first toggle that you use to kind of get out of it. Then next camera is what I use to just kind of switch to go to the back camera or to the shoulder camera. It doesn't really matter. You can apply the free camera in any of them, but the most important one here is enter free camera. So this is what you can do to kind of dislodge any of the regular external camera points and just reposition that, right? So that's really the most important key here. Then we have a separate category here for the free camera. So here you can toggle the HUD so you can take away the controls, otherwise it'll show you kind of like a menu. You can increase the speed by which the camera moves. I recommend always setting this to the lowest speed, because that also, I don't know, it just makes the camera the most smooth. Also, if you have it attached to your head, just always keep it at the lowest speed generally. And then to control it, I actually use WSDA. So this is kind of like the regular control that I also use for walking around, so I don't have to like move my fingers or use anything else. And I just added the E and the Q, which are kind of like right there, to also move up and down. So that is basically all the keybinds that you need to make. And then you also need one thing to lock the camera, I guess. For me it's shift. Is that here? Yeah, so camera ship controls toggle. So that actually lets you then refix the camera, and then you can just play the game with the camera in the new position. And you can use enter also, which is like if you want to actually completely detach the camera, so you'll keep playing but the camera will just kind of stay in place or be kind of dragged behind you, which is sometimes kind of nice for videos. But that is what you need to actually do those shenanigans and actually fully embody your commander. So that brings us to the last chapter, the actual graphics controls. So first, display. So of course you have your card, your standard resolution for your screen, everything. I use the borderless mode because I just have far less bugginess. So generally I find that in VR, especially when switching between the regular on foot perspective and the in VR perspective, that is a moment where the game sort of GPU bottlenecks like very hard, and it can sometimes crash. But in borderless mode, for me at least, but that could be specific to my card and setup, it crashes the least. So I kind of keep it there. So I have my computer basically set a little bit lower because I want most of my power, of course, to go to my HDMI. So I have this at 60 Hertz and 90 Hertz locked basically, but that's just your computer, right? That's not your actual headset. Then for the quality, I have everything basically set to ultra, so it says custom, but I basically start not from VR ultra because that doesn't really work so well. I start from regular ultra when I do new settings, let's say. Then so model draw distance, maximum distance, texture quality high is actually the highest, so there's no ultra. Anastrophic 16, directional shadow quality ultra. So this one is important because as you saw earlier, when you see my shadow walking around, you see the detail of my see-through helmet, the fingers, like all the details are there. That's the directional shadow. So if you really want the full embodiment experience, then you need to set your directional shadow to ultra, because in high, part of the shadow will usually not be rendered, so it just looks a lot more fake right away. Then with the spot shadow quality, I find the spot shadow quality is not to be that interesting actually, but they do take a lot of RAM, they do take a lot from your computer. So I have it actually set to high because I feel it enables me to run the directional shadow quality, which is also, the shadows are by far the most CPU, GPU intensive stuff. They are the most responsible for lower frame rates from all the functions, I think. So this is a nice balance to have the spot shadows a little bit lower. You don't really notice that anyways, while the ultra shadows are very, very noticeable if you set that to high. So this is like a little bit of a RAM saver for me, you could say. Bloom I have off. Bloom can look nice, but in VR it's sort of very overwhelming, very active, so it's just not so well done in this game if you ask me, but that's a personal preference. Blur I have completely set off. Oh yeah, then for the anti-aliasing, so a lot of people are gonna say different things about this. I have tried everything. So I've had it on FXAA for a while. I tried it off for a long time, but I find that generally overall, because I carry a lot of cover a lot of distance, generally go to a lot of systems, do a lot of different things, that generally using SMAA, yes, it's not the best anti-aliasing, but I just get the most stable, least buggy, least crashes, etc., and everything just works really, really smoothly. So that is actually a bit of controversial advice maybe. Yes, if you turn it completely off, it does look a little bit better because you don't get some of the jagged edges. I think FXAA also sometimes looks a bit more better, but I'm just sticking with SMAA because of the smoothness and the quality of gaming. Then I have the super sampling set to ultra quality, AMD so to 1, so no real other increased upscaling or anything, because I just think it works well, and if I can do it, but then in like peak moments I will sometimes get some stutters or whatever, and on 1 I just know that everything will just be rock solid and smooth, and I just prefer everything to be totally smooth. Ambient occlusion, I had this on high for a long time, but I also at some point said, you know what, I just want to put my game on maximum performance also, and I really don't see any noticeable difference between high and medium, but there is definitely, like, it cost me like 5 or 6 frames per second when I check, when I go from high to medium. So I'm just choosing to have the actual extra frames instead of the high, and I really don't see any visual difference. Environment quality, so ultra, FX quality, the high, that's the highest there is. Particles effect quality, ultra, depth of field, high is the highest, material quality, ultra, HDMI, image quality, so I just have it set to 1. Again, if I set it higher, I can, but in like peak areas, I might get some stutters or whatever, and 1 is just rock stable and everything looks very, very good. The galaxy map quality I have set to high, terrain, ultra plus. This is important together with the higher textures that we did in the custom graphics override to really make the ground, and as you can see around me, to just make everything look super highly detailed and good. So I have the lot blending on. Terrain work I have set to medium. I've experimented with it all, but I don't really see any real difference there. So I just, medium is like my good spot. Terrain material quality ultra, sampler quality ultra. Those are all just the highest settings. Jet cone ultra, volumetric effects ultra, and then I have my reduced camera shake on and my vehicle motion blackout on, and the rest I have off. So those are basically my settings. That's what I would advise to kind of like start with if your computer can handle it. But for me, these are by far the best options. I've had these stably for at least the last 3 months, I think, since I settled on them, and I just have absolutely no complaints. Like, the game just works absolutely fine. There have been a few updates when things got a little buggy, when I would get some crashes and stuff, but in general it's just absolutely good now. And when you look at the ground, everything just looks absolutely gorgeous, so I have absolutely no complaints at all. And yeah, that's pretty much my guide to VR. So I hope you enjoyed. And I guess we'll sign off with basically the coolest thing that you can do in VR ever, not just in Elite Dangerous, but just in VR as a whole, which of course is star surfing. I can't believe that a little while ago I was talking to another player and he said to me, "Hey, have you heard about this crazy guy who surfed Sagittarius A?" And I had to laugh really hard and said, yeah, that crazy guy was me. So I guess I'm kind of introducing a lot of people to star surfing now, and so we'll end this video with a double loop around my favorite star, and you'll see something really quite interesting. So thank you all again for watching, and see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao! So I pretty much reinvented surfing, but in space, and instead of water waves, what we do is we actually sail the gravity waves of large stars. And well, depending on the size of star you surf, this is incredibly challenging, and it is a way to experience the scale of stars that is, well, quite literally beyond words. Neither Hubble or Plato or Copernicus would have ever believed you if you told them that we would be doing this one day. But in VR, it is absolutely incredible. And it's a great way to hone your skills as a pilot, because this is actually incredibly difficult to do. Once again, thank you all very much for watching, and please like and subscribe, and make sure to share the video with any other VR players who you think may have an interest. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.